everyone.
Hello, I'm Janelle.
And I'm Marissa.
And we're Anime Jam. So this is a new program for the Galena Park Library. I recently moved to that location from the Atascocita Branch Library, and I used to have Anime Jam over there. Mm-hmm. But now we're here.
Yes. Yeah.
Anime Jam is basically like a little podcast that we do to talk about different topics in anime.
Yep.
And it's monthly, so each month we'll have something new.
Yes.
So this month is
Pride Month.
Yeah.
So today we have a lot of different anime and manga and graphic novels that we're going to talk about that have really great just representation for this month. Mm-hmm. And all of these I would recommend anyway throughout the year. Yeah. Just because they're great. These are just great stories. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about a few that we really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. And I'll get started. Mm-hmm. So the first one I want to talk about is She-Ra and the Princess of Power. And it is, I think originally it was in the 80s. Sorry, let me put my glasses on. It was originally in the 80s or something. And the one I'm talking about is the one that came out
remake.
Yeah, the remake. So it came out in 2018 on Netflix. Yes. And it's still available on Netflix because I'm watching it currently. Yes. So that's Visual. Like the new one. And there's also a picture book of the original She-Ra that we have in our collection that you can check out at Galena Park. And we also have the other juvenile fiction books that you can take a look at as well. So She-Ra is a great show that good representation for the LGBTQ community. A lot of the research I did, so the relationships with some of the people in the show aren't revealed until like later on. So like I spoiled myself because I'm still like on the second season. Yeah. The synopsis of She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Oh, it's set on the planet Etheria, and it follows the story of Adora and Catra, who are both orphans to the Horde, which is basically like an evil army, and there's like a tyrannical leader named Hordak. I'm not going to talk so much of the difference between the original and the remake because we're focusing on, the characters more and the story. And what I really like about the show is that it's just natural that these, the people in the show just have feelings for each other or whatever. Yeah. And that's how it should be.
Because they grow together and they like learn together and they're around each other. I didn't realize that this character,
Glimmer?
Yeah. Yeah, that they were there. Are they part of the remake or were they part of the original?
Both. So both? Glimmer was in the original. I literally read this book earlier. Okay. So Glimmer is in both of the series. I think one thing I should point out about She-Ra is that she, in the original, is the lost twin of He-Man. And in this story, he's not in it at all.
Right. Okay.
So, because the showrunner and the creator wanted to focus more on her.
She-Ra, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not just relationships that are represented in the show, but also gender identity. Okay. And I think that's really important because, there are different, beings on the planet, and it's it doesn't matter what their gender is. Yeah. Really.
This gives me Steven Universe vibes.
Yeah, I think that's, I think the creator was inspired
by it. Yeah.
I know. So I might have to spoil, Adora and Catra, they were best friends growing up, and then they became enemies once Adora, she left her
family, or
that she doesn't really have a family. The group, the Horde. Okay, she left the Horde once she found the sword in the Whispering Woods, and she became She-Ra. So whenever she picks up the sword and says, for the honor of Grayskull, that's why she becomes She-Ra. So she was chosen to be the warrior. There were also She-Ras in the past too. Okay. Then she meets Glimmer and Bo, they are both best friends, and then they become like a trio of best friends. And unfortunately, Adora and Catra's relationship became really complicated because Catra was still loyal to the Horde, whereas Adora, like, she learned all the basically in the Horde they indoctrinate like the kids, and then they teach them like all the bad things about the rest of the planet. And then when Adora saw for herself that people are actually living peacefully and the Horde is causing all of the chaos around the planet, that's when Adora was like, I can't do that because it's not right.
Yeah.
So then that really complicates their relationship, and they become enemies. And they still care for each other even though they are on different sides. I think Adora shows more that she cares, whereas Catra is like trying to hide it more because she felt betrayed by her best friend.
Yeah.
And then they, at the end of the season, should I spoil?
Sure.
Okay, well, not just the season. But at the end of the series, they end up together.
Yeah. So they're like enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm like so with that trope because on one end, personally, I'm like, if you like somebody and really care about them, why are you being mean to them?
Yeah.
And then on the other end, there's like, aspects of like some childlike manners, when like you're a kid and you like somebody, but you can't necessarily tell them like, hey, I have a crush on you because you're afraid you might get made fun of or something. So then you're just like unnecessarily mean, or you annoy them or whatever.
Yeah. Didn't they say like when you tease somebody it means you like them?
Yeah, that good old saying. Yeah.
But yeah, throughout the show, where I am at in the series, they're still enemies, and Adora is with the Princess Alliance and the rebellion against the Horde, and there are princesses in different kingdoms around the planet, and then Adora, Glimmer, and Bo go to each one and try to convince them to join the alliance. That way they could defeat the Horde.
Okay.
And it's really cool, like, they get to visit the different kingdoms and stuff. And the animation, it may be simple and flat to some people. I saw it that way too, but also it's whimsical and colorful, and that's what I love about the animation.
Yeah.
And like the fight scenes it's not going to be like Mappa animation.
No, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like that, but it gets the point across, like what they're doing. And also it's a kid's show. It's rated TV Y7, so
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't like focus so much on like what people think, like, oh, you're shoving this in our face, in our children's faces.
Yeah, no.
It's just they're on a planet where homophobia doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The heteronormative doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And they're loving each other.
They're just trying to live their best life on this planet with the stuff they're given. Like a giant magical sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good story.
It is, yeah.
I see the similarities between like He-Man too. And I actually didn't realize that She-Ra was like the lost twin of He-Man. I figured that they just were like, we made He-Man, so let's make a She-Ra. I don't know what I was thinking.
I mean, that might have
been. Okay.
That might have been like, oh, we need a lady version of something.
Something, yeah. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, so you can watch it on Netflix and check out the books.
Awesome. Okay. Next one I want to talk about is called Paradise Kiss by Ai Yazawa, or like some people like to refer to it as Parakiss. So this is a manga and an anime. Again, it's by Ai Yazawa. It was made around the like early 2000s, maybe like 2005 or so. Paradise Kiss is about a high school girl named Yukari, and she is like a kind of straight-laced, strict, type A kind of person in high school, so she's trying to get really good grades at this prestigious school. She's kind of meandering a bit, like she doesn't know what to do with her life at this current point in time. She just knows that she has to get good grades. Yeah. So she's kind of in this like middle point of like, I don't really know what to do after this, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Yukari meets a group of fashion students from the Yazawa Arts Academy, I believe. And this is a running trend. Like, Yazawa uses their name for everything in a lot of the shows. So there's a Yazawa Arts Academy. They go to it. One of the fashion students, he scouts Yukari out, and he's like, "Oh, she's really pretty. She's very tall and slender. She's going to be great for our modeling job that we need. Like, we need somebody to model our clothes that we make." And the brand is called Paradise Kiss or Parakiss. So he scouts her out, but she gets freaked out. She's like, "Why is this guy following me and trying to get me to join his she thinks it's a cult at first." They meet up, or he chases her down. She finally meets the other group of people who are in this fashion kind of friend group thing. And she immediately is like, "I don't want to be a part of this. It's a waste of time. You guys are just making clothes for fun, and I have more serious things to attend to, like school." And so, of course, these people get really offended, right? So we have the person who scouts her out. His name is Arashi. And then we have Isabella is another part of the group. And Isabella is kind of the mom figure. We all have that one mom friend in the group. Miwako is this really sweet high schooler. And then we have George, who's the head of the group here. Yukari's "I don't want any part of this." Or she leaves, right? But she drops her ID. George comes in and he's like, "Where's our model?" And they're like, "She ran away." And so he goes to tracks her down at the high school that she's at. And he convinces her to join their group. And she goes with him to just see what they're making. And she tries on a dress. She looks great in it. They do a little makeover for her. And then she realizes that they really spent a lot of time, energy, and effort into making these outfits. And that's something that she might want to pursue. So she starts to join them. All of Ai Yazawa's work, it's full of drama. It's full of love triangles. It has a lot of great kind of slice of life stuff that you can relate to. The characters in this story are also really interesting, and I love this story mainly also for its fashionista aspect. These characters are making clothes that they think would look good on anybody, and they also do not really care about, they don't care at all about gender. It's whatever here. George, in the very beginning of the first episode of the anime, he's seeing with Yukari and driving the car. He's taking her to the group, right, to meet. And some rando in the anime is like, "Hey, George, aren't you gay? Why are you with Yukari?" And it's very okay. But then he turns around. He kind of tells this stranger in the anime. And the way they handle it is interesting because he basically turns around and says, "No, I'm bi." Then he says "I like to refer to myself as an equal opportunity lover." And so the stranger in the anime is like, "Okay." It shows in the anime too, and in the manga, because I read a good bit of the manga, that he just doesn't care, right? In their group too, Yukari is about to change into her dress they made for her to fit in. Miwako is like, "Oh, let's not change in front of everybody." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So they go to another room to change, right? And we find out later on in just the first episode of the anime that Isabella, who's the mom figure, is a transgender woman. And so that's something that you find out, not necessarily them even telling you. It's just it's just assumed, I guess. You assume it. So they have a lot of just different characters, really good representation in this anime, but it's not over the top, you know what I mean? And it's very blended, and the story is where it's at. Just the drama that's in this show is awesome. Of course, it's hinted, Yukari and George spend a lot of time together, so they eventually do develop some feelings, but I'm not going to spoil it because it's a very good manga. You should definitely read it. The anime is 12 episodes long, and I could only find it on YouTube.
Oh,
so
interesting.
it's kind of older too, so I'd imagine they don't necessarily have it out anymore, but it is on YouTube. Just look up Paradise Kiss English dub if that's your thing, or English sub, and it should be on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's 12 episodes long. I would definitely just watch it because it's very nostalgic, especially for me. It's got a lot of early 2000s influence. Oh, yeah. And one of the songs is by Franz Ferdinand. So it's just, I don't know. I'm this is good. This is good stuff.
Which song? Oh, okay.
I'll have to put it up here.
Okay.
But Yeah, it's a good song. I mean, it's really popular too.
The Cyberpunk used one of their songs.
Yeah?
The Edge Runners anime.
I feel like Franz Ferdinand's coming back a little bit. Yeah, it's a great anime and a manga. And it's supposed to be like a standalone sequel to Yazawa's previous work, which is Neighborhood Story. But this story isn't exactly a sequel at all. It just takes place in the same world.
Yeah.
So it'll venture off into its own little thing. I really liked it. I enjoyed the story quite a bit. And if you're just looking for something like that and you enjoy fashion, then this is what I recommend.
Oh, wow. That's definitely one that I'll have on my list.
Yes, it's great. Especially if you love drama.
Yeah. Since we're going off of fashion,
Ooh.
I'll talk about Boys Run the Riot. Yeah. Written and illustrated by Keto Gaku.
Okay.
And there are 4 volumes to this manga. No anime yet, maybe. It would be cool if they had an anime, because like I would love to see the colors and like, because it's about fashion. So
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to see how it would look animated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The illustration is really good. Like, it's very detailed. I love the, the contrast and all that.
Yeah.
It's well illustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Boys Run the Riot is about a transgender high school boy who launches a fashion brand with this friend. Well, it says with his friends. I only read the first volume, so I only know of one of his friends. Ryo Watari is a transgender boy, and he struggles with gender dysphoria. And one day he revealed that to his friend. I think his name is Jin. Okay, Jin Sato. Jin is a new transfer student, and he's kind of an outcast. Like, he has piercings, and
He looks like a yuck. Like he belongs in a misfit gang,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
They befriend each other.
Yeah.
And then Rio reveals, I'm a man on the inside. And Jin was like, that's cool. That wasn't his actual reaction, but that's how I read it. And I just love how Jin accepted it. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. You could be who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started a fashion brand. It's like a streetwear or something.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I believe Rio's only told Jean. Rio has another friend too.
Okay.
But I don't think in the first volume, Rio doesn't feel comfortable enough to tell his other friends. Mm-hmm. But I think it's really important that he looks up to Jean a little bit because of his streetwear and how he is. And he's like, okay, well, I think I can. I think I can.
Yeah. So Rio would wear like his tracksuit or something from gym, and people are like, "Why are you wearing that? You're not wearing your girl's uniform." Like, yeah, there's a reason why.
Yeah,
because he doesn't feel comfortable in it. Yeah, and
in the novel doesn't he wear his tracksuit and then he puts the skirt over it?
Oh, probably
or something like that. I can't remember why. Like he made a loophole where he was like, "I'm gonna wear my tracksuit anyway," but
yeah,
something like that.
It's a really good read, and it's beautifully illustrated, like I stated. I totally recommend it, and I just love Jean and how accepting he is.
Yeah.
To his new friend.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely a good manga. I've read 1 and 2. I just liked the streetwear aspect of it too because I'm really into streetwear. The way they approach streetwear in this too is awesome. Like, he goes up to Jean and he's like, I want to make clothes that are just like a representation of me, but also what I like and everything. And I'm like, oh, this is great. It's gonna be a good anime. It reminds me of the feeling I had when I started reading Blue Period. I was like, oh, it's the good stuff.
I also want to say that the mangaka Keto Gaku is a transgender man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah. So upon little research, I found that out.
Yeah. What's his name?
Keto Gaku?
Gaku. I keep wanting to say Goku.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's a really good read, and I recommend it, so check it out.
Another anime that is just kind of interesting is Revolutionary Girl Utena. And this is kind of an older one. This one is made by, it's an anime television series created by Bee Papas. I like that name.
Yeah.
It's a group that was formed by a director who also worked on Sailor Moon. But because of like creative differences with Toei Animation and everything, he kind of like departed and he made his own little
studio?
kind of Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
and his own group, and they made Revolutionary Girl Utena. So this comes after Sailor Moon. Utena is a teenage girl. In the story, she goes on and trains to be kind of like a swordsman of sorts. And there's this whole like sword dueling tournament at this school in this universe, right? A little bit of background. When Utena was a kid, Utena meets a like really charming prince, and his name is Prince Dios, I think. He kind of inspires her to become a prince, so she vows that one day she will become a prince.
Yeah.
Because he's just so charming. I think she's like, oh my god, like, I want to be a prince. And so in this world, there is dueling, right? And Utena becomes a swordsman, and Utena enters into this like arena, this challenge to kind of win the hand of the Rose Bride. And Rose Bride is played by Anthe. In the anime, you have all these different characters who really like gender as a whole is not really a thing. Everybody is with everybody in this show.
Yeah.
Utena, for instance, she's just this young teenage girl who's decided, I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. I'm going to go ahead and, like, I guess be the Rose Bride's fiance. When she meets Anthe, she kind of befriends her and realizes, like, Anthe's position in this kind of, like, world where Anthe is, I guess, like, dismissive of her own wants and needs, right? Anthe is just, like, this person who's willing to do whatever people tell her to do. And it's kind of, like, disheartening for Utena to see. So Utena is kind of like, you know what? I'm going to try and win so that I have, like, quote unquote, I can win the Rose Bride and help Anthe out. But at the same time, everybody else is fighting for the Rose Bride because apparently the Rose Bride, Anthe, has the power to revolutionize the world.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the entire anime. I'm not too sure what the power is. But everyone's like, we need the Rose Bride.
Yeah. I watched 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And I was confused about the plot because I'm like, they go to the school, but you don't actually see them learning. They're just like hanging out.
Yeah, it's just fighting.
And then the student council is just, they're trying to take over. I'm like, where are the teachers?
Yeah.
But anyway, just my first thoughts on it. I saw Anthe as like a damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wasn't particular of that, but that's just me. It's my own gripe.
And I think you have a similar opinion to many other people who see the show too.
Oh, okay.
I definitely got that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I more so felt kind of sorry for Anthe, just because her brother is Akio. So Akio is like the main bad guy in the show.
Ooh.
They're siblings and everything, but of course he's also trying to control Anthe, so that he has that power. So there's that relationship there. It's already bad. And then you add in the mix of other people who are trying to win her over. And then you have different characters who are just trying to rise up against it, like Utena. Mm-hmm. And the show is pretty good. You have all these different, like, complicated relationships. And of course, like I said, it's just Utena is like a teenage girl who's trying to be, like,
be herself.
Exactly. And she doesn't care. Yeah. I love her outfit too. Like, I'll put a picture up on here. But it's literally just like some athletic shorts, and then she's got like that like the blazer almost uniform.
She's wearing a boy's uniform, but it's a different color. And people are like, why are you wearing that? She's like, because like I want to be the prince.
Exactly. I feel like it's just more flexible too when you're fighting in a sword match, so that you have like range of motion. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of drama too. When I was watching a little bit of it and then reading like the whole point of the story, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it truly is almost like a beefed up, not a magical girl anime, but like, it's kind of beefed up in the drama. Mm-hmm. There is a manga, but like good luck finding it. I'm trying to find the first volume still. Yeah. There is an anime. I don't know where you can watch the anime.
Funimation.
Okay. Yeah. So you can watch it in Funimation then if you have an account.
Oh, there's a movie too.
Oh yes, there is a movie after this anime. It's called After the Revolution. And that one's good. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but towards the end of the show, Anthe kind of like, you know how we were talking about how Anthe's a damsel in distress? Well, she goes through a lot of stuff in this show. You know, she has a realization about her character and everything, so she changes it up a bit. And it's the same for the characters in this show.
Character development.
Exactly. It's got really good character development as well. So I would definitely recommend it just to check it out and see if you like it. The show may not be for everybody just because I didn't realize this, but a lot of people are also put off by art, like animation style and artwork. And they won't 90s. They won't watch it if it's a little bit older. Oh. But, you know, it's still... I just recommend it.
I would still watch it too.
Yeah. I don't really mind old artwork and animation stuff, but I've met people who do. So if that's your thing, then, you know.
If that's your jam.
If that's your jam.
I was trying to do a pun.
I see it. Jam. I got it at the very end. So I would definitely recommend Revolutionary Girl Utena. There are a few that I also kind of want to talk about, but I'll just briefly go over it. Dokyose, Classmates, is really, really good. So this one's about two boys who are in high school, and they go to an all-boys school. We have Saho and Kusakabe. They just kind of meet, and so they're both in this boys' choir. Saho cannot really, like, sing. Oh. Like, he can, but...
why is he in choir?
I think he's just trying.
Oh, okay.
Kusakabe kind of offers to help him out, because he hears him one day after school, like, trying to recite some of the, like, sheet that they need for the play or the choir rehearsal. And so he helps him out. So they spend a lot of time together, like, just re-going over the lines and him showing him how to, like, change his pitch and everything. It's pretty nice. It is a movie. It's an anime movie. And then there is a manga for it, too.
Did the manga come after the movie or before?
Oh, before.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a pretty easy watch. It's like an hour long. Eventually, as they like start hanging out, you know, and everything, they get really close. And randomly, Kusabe like kisses Saho, and they're both just like, what just happened? And so, of course, they kind of run away. They avoid each other for a little bit. It's a really sweet anime. Eventually they get back together and they become friends, but they're still in that kind of period of like, are we dating? Are we together? Or are we not together? Something happens in the movie that really pushes Kusakabe to kind of defend Saho, and that starts up their relationship again. And then, of course, they kind of go over this like little bump in their relationship where they have to decide where they want to go to college. And so that's a big deal for them because one person wants to go like to Kyoto and the other person wants to stay where they're at, which I think is Tokyo or something. So they have to go over that little hump in their relationship. But it's a really good representation. And I love how they're just so innocent too, because they're both high schoolers. Like, this is their first relationship, honestly, ever, romantically. And so they're both learning how to figure out their feelings. And it's really good. Like, I didn't expect it to like it as much as I did when I started watching the movie, but I definitely did. You can watch it on Amazon Prime. I rented it. That's the only way I found it. I don't know any other place that you can watch it. But we also have the manga in the system if you want to place it on hold and read it. Oh, nice. That's an option. Yeah. I think there's like several volumes that we have now. We may be getting more too because this is a newer title that we started requesting. If you would like to read it, absolutely.
Awesome. I might request it. Yeah. There are 2 novels in the Kyoshi series. So everyone knows Avatar: The Last Airbender. Amazing show. There are 2 installments in this, like, what do they call it? Duology? Well, yeah, that's what 2 means. Okay, so Avatar: The Last Airbender was a show on Nickelodeon. The showrunners and creators are expanding more on the universe, and Avatar Kyoshi, she was featured a few times in the show. So Avatar Kyoshi is the Earthbender Avatar before Aang, and with the creators and showrunners wanting to expand on the universe, they had FCE write the Kyoshi novels. I think the first one's called The Rise of Kyoshi. Basically, it's about her upbringing. She was an orphan, and she was poor. Unfortunately, her trigger warning. Her parents. I think her parents might have passed away, or they left her. I'm sorry, but yeah, she has a little sad childhood. One day she was looking inside the window of, I don't know if it was a store, but there were airbenders, and they were trying to find the next avatar. And so if you've watched Avatar Last Airbender, the nomads, they had like these little toys that they have 4 toys, and they had to pick it in a certain order, and that's how you know that they're the next avatar or something. Every time an avatar passes away, I mean, a new one is born, and then like they try to find who the next one is.
Yeah.
In their world. So Kiyoshi was watching all these kids like pick out the toys, and then the nomads would just take it back from them. And once they saw her, I guess she picked out the toy. Yeah, she picked out the right toys and they knew she was the avatar.
Right.
But then I think she ran away or something. Sorry, I've read this a while ago. She ran away because she knew they were going to take the toys away from her, and because as she was watching the kids prior to her, like they weren't giving away the toys. So
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so she was really, really discouraged, and so unfortunately they lost their avatar. And then years later, she was adopted by I forgot his name, and then becomes a servant to who they claimed was the avatar, or they call him the false avatar because he wasn't really the avatar. And then time passed, and like she and Yoon, so Yoon was her friend. I don't know if they had a crush on each other, but they did like have feelings for each other. And then something bad happens during one of the missions, and they find out that he wasn't really the real avatar.
Right.
Kiyoshi demonstrated strong earthbending skills, so they realize, oh, she must be the avatar. And then Yoon, like, sadly passes away. Spoiler. But he kind of is, like, around spiritually.
Okay.
In, like, a bad way. Cause, yeah.
Like a haunted spirit?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, because, like, he died not knowing who he truly was.
Oh,
and also
yeah.
this other spirit that attacked them kind of consumed his mind or something. I might be getting this wrong. But something along those lines happened, and I'm sorry. Anyway, The Rise of Kiyoshi is about, her childhood, her upbringing, her as a teenager, and being Yoon's friend and servant. She is also friends with Rangi, who is a firebender, and I believe her mother was like Yoon's firebending teacher. But yeah, Kiyoshi and Rangi, they're friends, and then once Kiyoshi is the avatar, Rangi becomes her bodyguard, and then they actually fall in love, and they're in a relationship. And Kiyoshi is known for loving both men and women equally.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing she's known for, but she is one of the avatars that was open about it and didn't care what other people thought. She was like, yeah, Rangi's my girlfriend, so what?
Yeah.
And I liked that attitude about her.
Yeah.
And this is outside of the books because this is more about her becoming the avatar. Kiyoshi is the longest living avatar, or was the longest living avatar. She lived for like 200-something years. It's crazy. And, there's an island named after her, Kyoshi Island. And she started the Kyoshi Warriors group. The non-benders, they're mostly women, but they are non-benders, so they have no elemental manipulation, but they learn how to fight. So I think a lot of the styles of the fighting is like taught by Rangi at first. Rangi, and then of course Kyoshi taught them too. So it's really cool that Kyoshi saw like women being mistreated and they can't like defend themselves. So she started this group to teach women how to fight back, and I love that. And I love that the Kyoshi Warriors they're still a thing hundreds of years later.
Right.
Another thing she started was the Dai Li, and unfortunately that's one of the groups that she might regret, because the Dai Li, they're like a secretive group in the Earth Kingdom. After her death, they've just become corrupted.
Yeah, became corrupted.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you want to learn more about Kiyoshi, you could read the books. We have both of the books in our system. So The Rise of Kyoshi and The Shadow of Kyoshi. I listened to the audiobooks on Libby, so that's another thing that you could look into.
Ooh, that's a really good suggestion. Yes. We do have a few items up here that you can also check out. They're graphic novels, some really brief ones. We have Heartstopper, which is about Nick and Charlie. I love it. It's very cute.
It's very cute.
It is. There's a Netflix adaptation as well, like a live action adaptation. That one's also great. So check that one out too. But if you just want to get started with the graphic novel, absolutely. The characters in this graphic novel are really diverse, and it shows kind of like the relationships between all of them and how they kind of like orbit around Charlie and Nick. Charlie and Nick's relationship is also pretty wholesome, and it's just about finding out like who they are and how they're going to navigate the world together, especially after high school.
Yeah.
So it's definitely recommend. I haven't quite read Mooncakes, but I know that it's between like this young teenage girl, her name is Nora, and then a like teenaged girl, but she's like a shapeshifter. She's like a wolf and a girl. So they explore that relationship in this book, so it's really good. And then I think Janelle has one more graphic novel.
Or it's a manga.
A manga.
It's called My Brother's Husband, and it's by
Gengoro Tagame.
Okay, Gengoro Tagame. I read the first volume, and I thought it was really good. The mangaka, he is himself is gay. The plot of My Brother's Husband is Michael. He's from Canada. He was married to this guy's brother, and they were twin brothers. And unfortunately, Michael's husband had passed away, and he goes to Japan to meet his family and see where he grew up. And he meets his brother-in-law and his niece. At first, the brother, he has like he doesn't really acknowledge it at first, but he was homophobic upon meeting Michael, and she just accepts Michael as he is. Like, she doesn't really see orientation, right? She's like, oh, you are my uncle's husband or something, and she loves him for who he is, because she saw immediately like, oh, he's a nice guy, he's a good person. So Yaichi is the brother.
Okay.
It kind of explores homophobia, and later on he realizes, oh, you know what, he's not a bad guy. He slowly starts, accepting him, and gets better and less homophobic, I guess. But I only read the first volume, but I'm assuming like he does learn from his prejudice,
right, from the past.
Yeah.
I
I think it's a good read. The way it touches on, homophobia, I think. I mean, some people can like relate to that in some aspect. Like, oh, I had this relative, who was homophobic. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely relatable. That is a great one too. I also read the first volume, and it explores those themes really, really well. I also like the art style, because art style is very realistic.
Yeah. Yes. Like they're big guys.
Yeah, they're big guys.
Yeah,
I like it. It's also a manga that I realized has an American and like a Japanese character together. I don't really see that a whole lot either in manga, so that was really, really pleasant to see.
Oh, his name is Mike Flanagan, so I wasn't off. Michael.
Mike Flanagan.
Yeah. It is adult graphic novel, so just be aware of that. But I think most of the rest of our items are YA or can be juvenile, like She-Ra. Yeah. So that is our Pride episode.
Yes.
So this is actually our second Pride episode that we did. We did one 2 years ago, and you can check that out on the Atascasitas Facebook. Or HCPL's YouTube channel.
Yes, it is on the YouTube channel as well. And then 2 years ago, we were featured on PLA's website, which is Public Library Association.
Oh, yeah.
So that was really cool.
And that was TLA, no?
PLA.
PLA. Oh,
yeah, PLA.
Very cool.
But we really wanted to do an additional one, almost kind of like an update too, because there's been some great LGBTQ plus like manga and anime that have come out recently that just need more light on it. So
and graphic novels too, like
absolutely,
a lot has been coming out, which is awesome. I would like to mention the creator and showrunner of She-Ra is a co-writer of Lumberjanes.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And also, I think they also wrote Nimona?
Mm-hmm.
Nimona, sorry.
Nimona. Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have it in the system.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
And apparently it's going to be a show. So, yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
We will catch you guys next month.
Yes.
For Anime Jam.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.